on top of all that suffering, she had to lose 2 of her children. I think like we're thinking of the details and all of that, but take the details out of it for a moment and just look at this woman literally went through it. So maybe she wasn't considering churches, or maybe the churches are closed. No one is thinking of every single thing this woman went through. They're just thinking of, okay, this is the top. This is the main thing that happened. She was in a car. She was at a casino. Like they're looking at the facts. They're not looking at the mental instability that comes with everything that she probably went through. And then seeing the type of person he is to say it's whatever, that just gave me more of a reason to see it as he wasn't a good person to even be around her children, and neither was his family. Because sometimes you are a product of your family. I feel there should be more compassion for this woman, because the world is always going to drag down not only a Black woman, but a single mother as well. And we need to stop doing that. I feel for her, and I feel everyone failed her at this point, because she did everything she could by herself. No family, no much of nothing. And it took her children to leave this world before everybody wanted to try to step up and say, oh, we'll help now. Everyone failed her. She did everything she possibly could with her mind frame, where her mindset and what she was mentally probably going through. She did everything she could that she could think of. And I feel like, Detroit is not necessarily, a happy doo-dah place. Like, I know many people in Detroit, and it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. And like I said, we should really have more compassion for what this woman possibly went through, just mentally feeling like she had nowhere to go. And having 5 lives that are depending on you is even more so something we need to take into account. Like, if you don't have 5 children, or even, like, that is a lot of children to have to think about. And that's what I think about it.
Right. So I am streaming now on YouTube. So if you come up, please don't have any music playing. We are discussing the case of the mother in Detroit who has lost 2 children. And I am going to be putting a petition together. You do not have to sign the petition. Somebody sent a lot of Rover. You do not have to sign the petition. Not asking anybody to sign it is not in favor with the mom. But right now, as the investigation goes on, unless they come back and say that mom was in the casino turning up, I really, really, really have sympathy and empathy for this mom. Because hear me out. It's so disheartening to hear that the mother has to bear the most weight than the father. That is so disheartening to feel that one parent's responsibility outweighs the other. And so many times the mothers get the short end of the stick while the fathers go out and make extra children. We always blame the mothers more. And I think it's sad that this woman was seeking help from several people, and I feel as though the system failed her. I fought the system. I feel like better structure, procedures should be put in play when these people really seek help. All that sign in, build on to the building. If you want to start something as crucial as a shelter, make room. I think the system failed her, and it's so unfortunate. Now, that's my 2.2, and I'll be back to give you 3. Next column.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is devastating. I feel like that she was reaching out for help, and they failed her. The system is so jacked up. But they can take our tax money and go send it to Ukraine and go give it away to everybody. I want my tax money to be given to the homeless and this situation, shelters. That's why I want my tax money to be spent on. This is some foolishness. Yes, she got failed by the system. She cried out for help, and she didn't get it. It's sad. Sad. And now everybody's trying to put the blame on her and not the father. The father should have took those kids, especially if he knew the situation that she was going through. But you failed to do nothing. So I'm not just going to blame it on her. She reached out for some help and she was failed. So can y'all imagine how she's feeling? How her mind is going? That she failed her kids and lost two. It's sad. I just pray for her and oh my God, this is devastating.
Excellent.
I wish I would have known. I most definitely would have helped. I would have. So them babies would have been in a place somewhere where they would have been able to be warm and had some food to
Thank you,
eat.
Top Chef.
And they failed. It's devastating.
It is.
Oh my God, that is devastating. If it was anything that I could have done, man, I would have did. I promise you I would have. Oh God. We have to spread more love instead of hate. You never know what a person is going through. You never know. Oh, you just don't know. It's just help. If you're able to help someone and you see them struggling, just help them.
Right.
With no question, just help them. They probably had to build up enough courage to come and ask you. Some people don't like to go and ask nobody for stuff when they feel like that they got it on their own.
Right.
Everybody's going through some stuff. Everybody. It's okay to just help if you can. Just help.
Right.
Like right now, it's raining outside. You got these vets. You got all these people outside living outside in the rain. They're probably gonna die.
Oh, let's pray not.
Wet and
Let's
no
pray
one's
not.
helping.
Let's pray not.
Yeah, I pray not, but I'm just saying it's terrible. They don't think about us, but they'll make sure that everybody can come over here and they take care of them and give them a silver spoon when they dog us out. If we don't work, we don't eat.
Right.
That's some messed up shit.
Right. Thank you, Miss Jays. So Kevin has his finger up downstairs. I'd like to hear from Kevin and then Kitty. Are you going to be speaking today? Because you've been up here.
I'm going to drop down.
Okay.
Have an amazing day.
You too, Miss Jays. Come back and see us because you're clocking it. Yes.
I'm going to drop down.
Yes. Consultant, where did you go? Come back. You on the come back because you're on camera. I don't like to draw people that sit on camera with me. Come back. Go ahead, Kevin.
And I was just going to clarify this, though. I wasn't absolving her and putting the blame on him. I was just making it clear that he was a deadbeat father who was not in his children's lives. But I also 100% agree with what Coach Educator was speaking of, not just the state's part of the system, but the school system as well. Because had they did their job the way they were supposed to be doing their job, these kids would still be here. Even if it required taking action against the mom for negligence on her part, child welfare, child endangerment, or whatever it could have been or should have been, but the children had a chance to still be here had everyone done their jobs correctly, and that is taking out and looking out for the welfare of the children while they was in school for those months. Somebody had to have seen or witnessed or noticed something that was not right with the children, and no one intervened on behalf of the children, is what I was trying to say.
Right. I have one of the, let me read this comment from YouTube. Miss Vicky said the system in Detroit is jacked up. It's really hard for most of the people to get assistance. It's a lot of research in Detroit they don't tell people about. Go ahead, Glam.
So from what I was reading, it said that they were dressed up, clean, went to school, nicely fed and everything. As a teacher, they're already bogged down. I'm not trying to take up for the teachers, but they're already bogged down with students and a lot of immigration and all of that. So a lot of teachers, instead of them having their 1 or 2 teachers to 18 or 20 students, it's 30 students sitting in a classroom. So as a teacher, you don't have time to just sit there and say, hey, are you this, are you that? If they come in clean, looking nice, whatever the case may be, then hey, it is what it is. I'm going on about my business. As a parent, whether it was the man, whether it was the mama, if he didn't want to get them, if he knew they was homeless, then he should have said 911, hey, DCF, whoever, DFAX, she's homeless with these kids. They need a place to stay. Now, I know for a fact when you go to shelters and you tell them that you are homeless with children, one of the main things they offer you to do is to give the children up. That's one thing that they always offer. They'll tell you they can get kids placed, but you won't be placed anywhere because that's the way it goes. And a lot of times, and I see it here too, a lot of times people look at the benefits that they're getting with the kids. The kids are with me. I don't got to pay this. I don't got to do this. I'm going to get this. So I understand, yes, she called and she did this, but a final option would have been was to give them up to the state until I can get myself together to get them back.
I would like to add on to that. Another thing is that I feel there's a lot of miscommunication when it comes to homeless shelters, because not every homeless shelter is ran and done the same way. There are some that even if you do that, if they are full, they will not take you whether you have children or not. Like, I have seen it happen. I have volunteered at homeless shelters, and I've seen literal people on Skid Row, them and their children outside in the cold. So it's not about, her not doing it. Again, Detroit system is messed up. I know.
What I'm saying is, anybody can take your kids to the local hospital and tell them that you're surrendering your child. Anybody. Anybody right now can go to the local hospital and tell them that you're giving custody and your rights up until you can get yourself together.
I understand that, but also we know in the system right now that the system is not safe. There are so many kids that get into a system and they do not end up in a safe place. Wow. Especially our children. They don't end up in a safe place. They end up in a situation that is 10 times worse than what they would have been in just being with their mother or their father. I am not absolving her of if she is at fault. Right now, there's still not enough evidence or enough things being talked about that have come out for us to even say she didn't do this, or maybe why didn't she do this, or we should blame her for this and that. This is still something that's ongoing. So I still believe the fact of the matter is we jump the gun before we hear everything.
I don't feel like the cold cards.
Let me finish. Think about it like this. I'll just say this last part. There are so many people that had a lot to say about Chadwick Boseman losing weight, didn't know this man was fighting was fighting cancer. Nobody had the whole story. Bits and pieces were put out, and then it took him being not in this world for everybody to find out what this man was fighting. I say we need to sit back, and again, before when we had a court case, we jumped the gun and we didn't hear everything. So I'm saying that as things are coming to light, we need to understand that sometimes we need to go off of what is being seen now and leave it open for debate later. That's how I feel.
In Michigan, to me, is that even just from from an educator standpoint, right? Remember, we had looked at the case of what's the baby's name that is still missing. We had looked at her case, Zanaya Harris. Remember, her school let her down. It seems to me that the city of Detroit or the upper, part of Michigan, they have created a culture and climate where their administrators and their teachers are responsive to the needs of children and the social and emotional needs of children as they should be. Because here are two classic cases of school districts should have seen this coming. There are social workers that are in school. I know when when I was teaching and when I was a principal, we knew of every child in our district and in our school who was homeless. And we made sure that they weren't living in a bar, right? We had those conversations with our children. We had those conversations with their peers. We had those conversations with their parents. And not at all to even get in their business, but just to reach out to make sure that their basic needs were being provided. That's all I have to say. The school has let them down. And it seems to me that that is a culture and climate that really resonates up there in Detroit, because you hear about it time and time again. Shout out to my Detroit teachers. I'm not trying to bash you guys, but that seems to be a problem. It does.
Ms. Coach, I think it was stated though that the kids were clean and fed, so there wouldn't be those physical tells that they were homeless.
Right, and I saw that, right? And I saw that. But another tell is that where is the mail going to?
Yes. And I don't understand why that should have been the first place the mother should have went for help. They have all the resources that they could. I don't understand that.
Not if you know that you're going to take them.
That's true. But
Hey there.
As far as being in the casino,
Hey, Phyllis.
I think the only reason I live in Detroit, I frequent the casinos quite a bit. Every inch of that parking lot is under camera. I think she went there because that's the safest place. Everything is being recorded. You got security driving through the parking structures, and then the way they're set up, there's a nook you could always tuck into to get out of the wind, which will help, with not being as cold. I don't think she was at the casino. The casino area, that's our built up part of the area. That's where our stadiums, everything are. So I think it was more out of safety that she was at the casino, knowing that they were under a watchful eye. But I know at this time of year, there's always warming shelters that are open. They're not, or warming, like they're just buildings. They're not a shelter. You can't stay, you can stay for a few hours to get warm. But then when it gets like the weather we're having now, which is really, really, this is our real winter. They have warming buses that go throughout Detroit, and they just loop. And it even says on it, warming bus. Like instead of saying like the destinations. So there are some things, but yeah, the system, it's all too overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. But I blame all the adults. If it was an adult sister, I blame her too. It's a shame if it is an adult sister, there's 3 adults with those children. Okay, and for them not to be able to figure something out, the dad, that's obvious. But it's all of them adults are, I feel, responsible for this. 3 adult heads should have been able to. Don't tell me they didn't all have smartphones. They, all you got to search is homeless need help in my area, and she could have got a list of.
Yeah, but that's. I don't know. I just been a witness to seeing the system fail. I guess maybe I don't know what you're talking about, Chef.
Progress. I do believe that. And, to have to make a decision.
I don't know what you're talking about, Peaches.
If she knew the outcome was, I give my kids up or they unalive, I'm sure she would have done that. But I couldn't imagine. It would have to take everything for me to have to turn my son over.
Yeah, but like Glam said earlier too, I think it's important to bring out a very valid point. Do parents not turn over their kids to the state because of benefits? I don't think that's the case in this one. I just don't. Not in this case. I really genuinely think that this mother was seeking help. Now, I will say this, on one of the recordings that I got, somebody talked about what the children had on versus what the mom had on. But she was giving the blankets up in the car for the children. They said one of the babies had on a onesie and just a diaper. And then the older child that passed had on a t-shirt and some pants. So they said that the babies didn't even have coats in the vehicle. So to me, it's just a very sad situation. They didn't even have coats.
Oh, now if that's the case, and I don't know, maybe because I live in Florida. Here, if your kids go to school without a jacket, they give them jackets, but then they sign like they'll send a post to your house. Florida send them anything good, but they'll send the people to your house if they come in without a jacket, or like if your kids skipping meals. But when I saw that they was dressed and going to school every day and she's driving them, if I see somebody dropping their kids off, they look good, they don't look like they're hungry, I'm gonna stare at the kids who coming to school with the same clothes back to back, they dirty, stuff like that. But if they didn't own, did they not have them on, but they owned them, or did they not own coats either?
Well, I'm just getting bits and pieces, so that's just here and there media talk. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to play the clipping. It's now we have a little more people in the room. I'm gonna play another news clipping, and then Miss Kitty, we'll hear from you because you've been waiting patiently. So here we go, guys. Yeah, tap the screen.
If your goal is to lose belly fat, you need to use.
Turning to a story that literally the whole city has been talking about for the last couple of days, a tragedy. A mother of a little girl and boy who died while living in a parked car is sharing her side of what happened.
She says the family lived inside that van for 3 months, and when she called the city for help, she was turned away.
Called everybody. I called out of state. I called different cities. I called Detroit. I got on a cam list. I've been on a cam list for a long time. Nobody. Every time I call, it says no shelter, no bed. I thought I was doing the right thing. I tried to keep them warm at night. That's it. I was just trying to keep them warm. Nobody helped me. It took me to lose 2 of my kids to get this help. I don't feel good about it.
Early Monday morning, 29-year-old Tatiana Williams parked inside the Hollywood Casino garage. Temperatures were in the teens, but she says her kids had blankets and beds in the van to stay warm. At some point during the night, the van battery died. Monday afternoon, while trying to get the van jumped by a family member, she realized her 9-year-old son wasn't breathing. Williams and a family member took the boy to the hospital, but it was too late. And while she was there, her 2-year-old daughter was found not breathing.
My son died right there, my feet. He probably was already gone, but he died right there to me. I'll go see my other baby. She's not breathing. They let me hold her till I heard her last breath. The last breath she had. They said there was nothing they could do.
There's not one person that isn't grieving right alongside of this mother. Certainly there are concerns about why this family was not able to get help when they needed it. Williams said that she did try to call the city of Detroit to access resources.
Mayor Mike Duggan addressed this yesterday, saying Williams had contact with the city in November asking for a place to stay. But there was no follow-up from the family or the city staff. The mayor saying bottom line here is this tragedy did not have to happen.
It's a terrible day in Detroit as we deal with the tragic loss of 2 young people, and it's got to make us rethink everything that we're doing. The heartbreaking part of this is that there were family shelter beds available just a few miles away.
Mayor Duggan says he's now calling for a review of the city's homeless services. Police say this case is still being investigated and a cause of death is being determined for those children. Remember, if you ever find yourself without shelter, there are resources for you. Scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you to clickondetroit.com for those. It's also a place where you can find all of our coverage on this case since it began.
I really hope it helps Detroit with opening up better systems, because I see a lot of people say that Detroit systems are screwed up when it comes down to homeless shelters. And I just think that this is a situation where we could all say what we would do. You know, I can't imagine being in a car with my children and they freeze to death. You know, like I'll take my chances of going to jail. This is just me as a mother. No food. I'm going to the store to steal. I'm not a thief, never have been. But before I watch my kids starve to death, I'm gonna take my chance on going to jail. Like I'm putting meat in my purse, you know, something, you know. So it's so hard to say what her next steps could have been. Now she has no children. We got to get to Miss Kitty, and then Black Diva been here for a minute. Thank y'all.
I could sit and place blame on a bunch of different people in the situation, but me, it's just my opinion. Like right now, I have 2 kids that stay with me that I really don't have that much connection to, but it would break my spirit to know that they froze to death somewhere and I could have helped. Like, the community should have helped that girl. Like, I don't put blame on nobody but somebody. We know the system fails, and with the economy that we're living in, nobody can do it by themselves. And then, here lately, I've been not finding out, because I knew for a while, but mental health is real. We don't know what that girl was going through. Reaching out for help is not an easy thing to do, because I done been one that need to reach out. Sometimes I can't help, but whatever I can do, I can. My granny raised me a long time ago. If you can't do nothing else, you can get a meal and you can lay down and get you a nap.
Wow. It's heartbreaking.
And down in Detroit, like it's cold, and we got it's our toughest.
Sad, ain't it, y'all?
It's in the late teens, but those casinos are within a half-hour walk from the water. Water makes you got more wind, and the air is actually colder. So it wasn't just regular conditions she was dealing with, being that close to the water.
True. I think another thing is that on the other side of things, playing devil's advocate, is that 5 children. It takes a lot to have 5 children. But also the fact that it seems like everyone in her family is homeless. So it's like, why are we bringing children into an already unstable situation? Like, I have to say on her part that if you're already unstable, the first time you had that child with this man, you guys are probably rocky. Then you had a second one. Then you had a third one. And the next thing you know, you're homeless. And then they're saying the mom and the sister are homeless. So it's like, what is this family doing or not doing that they brought kids into this situation? And then you said they had a baby that was 2 months, like that.
Situations were before, like maybe when she had the first few kids, things were good. I don't know if we have enough of that information.
She wasn't married.
But like, do we know how long she been like this? Like, how long her situation?
Say that again.
Do we know like how long she been homeless and stuff? Like, well, I know she said like, I don't know.
I heard her say. I thought they said 3 months.
They said 3 months. 3 months.
Yeah, they said 3 months. Yeah, 3 months she been. I think that the woman needed help. I think she felt alone. I really feel like her tears are sincere. I do. I think she needed help and she didn't have a support system. And it's just unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? Hear me out. I pay attention to this. She knew she could have came to me. Or him saying, my family live around the corner. A lot of times people always say what they would have done after the circumstance. Like all day long, I can say after I find out somebody passed, I can say all day, well, they could have came and stayed here, but how did they know that? So I think this is one of those situations where everybody is now saying, oh, well, they could have came and stayed here. But a lot of people don't even make their places open and welcoming. And like she said, she went. See, people aren't really listening to her words. She said, I went and stayed with other people, but I had too many kids. 5 kids were too many. So that's something that you have to take into consideration. Can you imagine you alone going to stay with somebody else, but you and 5 extra mouths to feed going? People will be slamming doors around. I've been there. I as a young mother, I've been there. I remember staying with my cousins in Dallas, and she used to always say, I welcome you here. But when she woke up in the morning, the music would be loud. She'd be slamming shit around you. Like they make you feel uncomfortable. I've been there with 4 children. Been there with 4 kids. And it made me go get it even the more because I knew what it felt like to sleep in somebody's living room. I didn't like it. That's my 2.2.
So I got a question.
Do you hear me?
In that story that you just played, it said that the car battery died, but I thought in the other video it said the car ran out of gas.
No, the car ran out of gas, they said.
In the new footage, you said the car battery died?
Yeah, but they were assuming, like they said they didn't know if or, and these are 2 different news channels. So, you know, the news gonna have it screwed up. I think she ran out of, she might have ran out of gas, or even if. She probably ran out of gas. Hear me out. She might have ran out of gas and thought keeping that engine turned over will keep that car warm. So then the battery runs down. I don't know.
It's just sad that she said that she called the city.
This
and
is
if the
sad.
city isn't able to get you any help, like then what else can you do? I feel like she probably just thought she did what she had to, which was sleep in your car, cut your heat on, and keep your babies warm for as long as you can. Not expecting.
Turn your comments back on.
I don't know, how if it was the gas or what, but I mean, if it was just the battery, or even if she didn't have that.
Yeah, I know I was looking for.
Yeah, somebody else. But I feel like I feel like maybe she just did what she felt was best at the time. And like you said, maybe she didn't trust the system. If the city can't tell you where to go, if the city doesn't say, oh, well, go to the hospital, go do this, go do that, maybe she just felt like she had nowhere else to turn. Put in her car and cut the heat on and keep her babies as warm as she can.
And Nisha, just to piggyback off what you said, I did have a friend when I first moved to Dallas. She had 4 daughters, and he had 3 sisters that lived there, and they lived in a car. But like you said, she had 4 children, and they were like, you got all these kids. Why are you homeless? Why are you not? So instead of them reaching out and saying, you can come and stay with us, they allowed, instead of them, they just questioned her and then even think about what she was dealing with these 4 girls living in her car and didn't even try to help her. And another friend, her mom's boyfriend didn't like her, so he didn't allow him to come back there. Her mother let him not let her children come and live with him.
He had 5 children. I thought it said that the mama and her sisters was living in the van too. That's why I said
Yeah, she's 29.
Yeah. I feel like we don't have enough to go on. All of them was living in the mama, wasn't her mama and her boyfriend? Her mama and the sisters.
Her mom, her sister, and her children were all homeless. Yeah, her mom, her siblings, and her children, they were all homeless.
Like I said, we don't have enough information to even find out what that is, but a lot of people aren't taught how to take care of themselves, let alone take care of children. And her mama, she's probably been in this situation when she was a kid. Went through the same thing with her mom being homeless when she was a kid. So who knows with all them being homeless? So we don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like we don't have enough information yet. Right. I think another thing is just us coming here and talking. I think
I'm gonna turn this off and let Shell restart it so Shell can get up here.
Too many times, just because we don't have an agreement on something, we want to attack and go for each other. It does need to be that everyone has opinions.